Welcome back to our show, your show, Let's Talk Stocks. In studio with us this morning is Mr. Ricardo Allen, and he's CEO of One-on-One Educational Institute. Of course, he's here to tell us all the plans for the company and how well the company has been doing. Welcome, Sir Ricardo.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah, man. Great
It's
to have you.
One-on-One Educational Services Limited.
Oh, it's services.
Yeah, man.
All right, great.
That's fine.
Talk to us. You got listed last year.
Right.
Raised what? About 300 and odd million?
358 million we raised in total. We got, obviously after fees you get a little less in cash, but we raised about $358 million.
The concept, and certainly the junior market has done excellent for a number of companies over the last decade or so. What convinced you that this was the route to go to raise capital to expand your company?
No, I mean, it was timely. In COVID, One-on-One has benefited immensely from, learning online. Students would have had to stay home learning online. Training would have had to be migrated online. And since we're a company that provides the technology, meaning the platform and the content to support learning online, training online and remotely, we got a lot of, boom in our business, right? We got a lot of expansion, not just in Jamaica, but in the Caribbean and so on. And so, we were moving fast, we were growing very fast, and we really needed to improve our team, expand on what we do, and obviously invest in the technology that will make us great in the long term, right? And so we needed capital, and we felt that perhaps the best way to raise capital now is the junior market. I mean, obviously not only do you get the capital, you benefited from, tax incentives and so on, and you get the sort of market awareness that will, obviously propel the business to the next level. So, it was a very easy decision for us, and obviously, we have been doing this for 7 years when we got listed, right? Okay. So we were in the business for 7 years, and I've always said One-on-One has been really running a public company privately, based on our board of directors or shareholders. They running their own listed companies, right? Listed companies. We were trained from a corporate governance standpoint.
Because that's exactly where I was intending to ask you next. Most companies coming to the market, the challenge for them is that whole corporate governance and reporting structure, having a proper board in place and so on. But you're saying you already were doing that.
Well, look, we certainly had the right ingredients, right? We had a really core group of individuals who were founding directors. So we've never changed directorship since we started the business, right? So we had the founding group of shareholders pretty much guiding the business along the path. And look, we've had challenges, right? It's not been easy. As a young CEO myself, it's all about constant improvements and managing and reporting to your board and being held accountable to execute on the strategic objectives, right? So we had some of those core elements in place. Obviously, with us partnering up with Sagicor to take us public, the wealth of experience that they have, they also brought that to the table, so that the blind spots that we had, we needed to have done some restructuring. It may not have been as grand as some other companies, but certainly it did require us to look at our operation or governance structure that we have in place. Even at the JC here, I had to do a course on corporate governance.
Of course.
As a CEO, to learn how to manage a public board, right? So it was still a transition, but I would say we had the right ingredients, and all we had to do is to kind of, knock heads with some other stakeholders, namely a Sagicor, a JC, a Financial Services Commission, to ensure that we get the right balance of things so that we can go public.
How has it been since listing for the company? I mean, you're coming out you're coming out of COVID at the end of that period where some companies were affected negatively, but you would have had a boost based on what you do.
Yeah.
To manage that going forward and the expectations, because you were significantly oversubscribed at the IPO.
Yeah, 8 times, right? It was a whirlwind, right?
Yes.
So we went public 5 days prior to my 33rd birthday. Greatest birthday present, I must say.
Absolutely.
Right? Outside of my daughter's being born. But it was really amazing, and it was the 100th company to get listed on the exchange, right? And so it was quite serendipitous that our company, who's one-on-one, became the 100 company to list. I mean, you could not make it up, right? And I did not plan it. So it has been, so you do the listing. So you're preparing for the listing, you do the listing, and it's this euphoria on the day that you list, and it's amazing, and so on. And then the next day happens. Yeah. And you realize that work needs to continue. And so we've been in execution mode since then. We got out of that euphoria very quickly. And we've worked on our strategic plan as we've communicated in our prospectus, which is really three things, right? We raise money to support working capital needs as we expand quickly. You know, we have a lot of government clients, larger clients. They take a little longer to pay us, right? So we need capital to support the business while
more working capital.
Right. So that's one. And then number two, we wanted to invest in content development, aggressive content development. I mean, we believe that the world where it's going is going to be a content war, right? Those who own content and can generate content quickly, easily, and at a very low cost will dominate, right? Platforms are important, but that's a little easier to do than content, simply for the fact that content needs to be localized, meaning the value of content is as relevant as it is. And relevance is determined by and large by localization, meaning I can teach math on a global scale, but it's more powerful for me to teach math for a Jamaican curriculum, and a Trinidadian curriculum, and a Bahamian curriculum, etc. Right? And so we realized quickly we needed content, so we said, okay, we're going to spend a lot of money in content. We also, in our prospectus, had a core focus on AI, artificial intelligence, right? So there was three things, right?
Interesting.
In fact, our prospectus was the first time ever in the history of the market where we had a bot reading our prospectus, and we had people interacting with our bot to ask it questions about our prospectus. You know, a prospectus is a 100-page document, right? And now you have a bot who reads the thing and they understand it, and then you can interact with it. But that's us trying something that we were working on in the background. Because in the background, we've been flirting with AI since we started the company. In fact, my business plan back in 2015 says to use artificial intelligence to personalize learning and training online.
Isn't that a quantum leap from, I mean, where we knew education? I mean, just the thought of offering content in such a manner, I mean, people resisted going to extra lessons. But here you are now, taking it to a way higher level. You know, and the market is lapping it up.
When I started one-on-one, it was to change education, not to keep it the same. And in order to change education, and keep in mind there are companies in the space, in the online space. I'm not the first online learning company, right? But I was very intent with my team and my focus on trying to make it better. And better for me meant more personalized.
Yeah.
And while it's a quantum leap, you know, we felt that given the technology that existed or that exists, we had the right tools, and if we could combine the technology along with some ideas in machine learning and so on, we could truly deliver a personalized experience. So while it's a leap, over the past 10 years, we have gotten so far, I believe, that we can now use those tools to deliver a personalized education, which, by the way, is how education was intended to be. Industrialization caused education to be a 40 person to a teacher in a classroom. But education needs to be personalized, and that's how it started. The need to generalize education, to mass produce for the workforce 300 years ago, 100 years ago, in the Industrial Revolution caused education.
I've never heard it put like that, Ricardo. Yeah. But and that's an interesting concept, and you know, there's so much to discuss on this. We might have to do it in two parts.
Right.
But let me ask you though, so having put all of that together and coming out of that, you would have seen now where AI, less than a couple of months later, is really front and central in terms of really delivering content and person interaction.
You know, when I saw the release of ChatGPT in November, I remember when I saw it coming out, and I couldn't sleep for days because that dream that we had 7 years ago
Yeah.
was pretty much put in overdrive because now we have a company like a Microsoft, like a OpenAI, who spend billions of dollars US
Yeah.
to come up with the core technology that will allow us to do what we want to do much quicker and much easier. So I've now saved money and time on some of the things that we were working on to get to that end goal much quicker. So you're absolutely right. It has taken, it has sped up certainly, but that will only help a company like One-on-One, whose DNA is baked into AI for personalizing learning and training.
Ricardo, this has been a very interesting chat. Normally we would have wrapped up this program. We have to cut it this morning, but certainly we're going to have to do a part 2. Viewers, you've heard the man, exciting, putting it out there. One-on-One Educational Institute, a listed company in Jamaica, listed last year. And it is justifying why their IPO was oversubscribed 8 times. That's the kind of business that Ricardo is running. As we always say here on Let's Talk Stocks, we bring you information to make better financial decisions. Come back with us tomorrow morning at 9 when I'm sure I'll say this time we'll have a part 2 of Ricardo's interview for you. Come back with us.